righty. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PT on Ice Daily Show. My name is Christina Previtt. I am one of two female athletes. So we talk about from preconception and trying to conceive, some unique considerations for the female athlete. And then we follow that journey through pregnancy, labor and delivery, talk about common pelvic floor issues, and then go into postpartum return to sport. And so if you are interested in joining our next cohort, we actually start in September after I birth this tiny little human. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I posted on my personal page a story that happened to me during this pregnancy, and I'm going to go over two stories that have happened to me in both my pregnancies, talk about mindset, and then talk about how this is just not okay. And then we're going to loop this around to how this can impact the clinician and potentially impact your therapeutic alliance with your client. Female athletes with some of the potentially negative body image things that can occur with pregnancy. They can be afraid of like the way their body is going to look before, to look after. Some of that is very much dictated by society. Other things are internal to your identity as an athlete and looking a certain way because of your fitness level. All of these things are valid and true, and all of these things are happening in the background of a pregnant person. Mix that in with sometimes feeling guilty about worrying about the way that your body looks when you're so excited and glowing that you're able to become a mother, and that you are just so excited that you can bring a life into this world, right? So that's what society is telling us. This is what a mom-to-be may be internally struggling with. And then you get the comments. I have no idea why this is true, but it seems like as soon as a person becomes pregnant, all filters are out the window and everybody feels like they want to comment on your body. And it's hard because you're no longer really anonymous. This is what I noticed with my first, is that I would go into a grocery store and I would just book around in front of you. You're no longer anonymous and people notice you. And a lot of people, because they're so happy and they know the joy that comes with parenthood, want to make comments. And many are very well-meaning, but there are certain times when it is not. So when I was pregnant with my daughter, my first child, I was training before I got pregnant with her. I was training for nationals. And when I was training, I was the leanest I'd ever been. I was the most laser focused on my nutrition that I had ever been. And I was really proud of that. My body was strong. I looked strong. I felt strong, and was really excited as well when I got pregnant. But I was really worried about some of the changes in my body and if I would be able to get that back, like all those things that I talked about earlier. Around 28 weeks pregnant, my husband was in a wedding party in Jamaica, and we were the first out of his peers. Already feeling a little bit left out because I was pregnant in Jamaica and feeling a little bit uncertain because I was in a bathing suit, all these things, right? All these things were going on in my mind. My husband was great. He was with me the whole time, but he was in the wedding party. So on the day of the wedding, I'm probably going to get emotional about this because this was something that was so traumatizing to me. On the day of the wedding, what ended up happening was he was up front, and then everybody was taking a bunch of pictures on the beach. And the mother of the groom came up to me. I had talked to her maybe once. Like, I didn't know her very well. It was my husband's friends from back home. Came up to me and said, "Can you stand next to me in pictures? I want to look skinnier." And so tie that in to my big, like, I'm already feeling really self-conscious. I don't feel like anything fits. I don't have a dress that really fits very well. I didn't want to spend money on it. And then I have this person who's basically telling me that I look fat and that she wants, by comparison, to stand next to me so that she looks better. And you can't really say anything. It's the mother of the groom. And I just, like, I didn't even know what to do. I was so stunned. And so I kept myself together during the wedding ceremony. And in the time between when the wedding ceremony ended and when the reception started, I lost it. I was bawling my eyes out. I just couldn't believe that somebody would make a comment like that. And it just totally fed into everything that I was trying so hard not to believe about my own perception. With my daughter too, I carried in my face. And so I was really insecure about that. And then this comment happened. And it took me a really long time to get over it. To talk about it. And I learned a lot about her, like, other people projecting their own feelings onto a pregnant person, especially when, they're having these insecurities themselves, not making that okay, but just having these conversations about it. So fast forward, and now I am pregnant again. For some reason, my Facebook doesn't like to work with me. So I'm pregnant again, and I'm in Arizona, and I'm at a work function. So we were doing a big hospital system for MMOA Live. You know that I'm in the geriatric faculty as well. And we were at a restaurant, and it's actually like around the same time. I was like 31 weeks pregnant. I had picked up the TAs. We had come over, and we were just having dinner on Friday night before we went to our Airbnb and got ready for the course the next morning. And so we were having this conversation. We were just having a conversation. It was like an open patio setting, and they were bringing over our food. And the couple that fat one. And she was talking about me, and I knew that she knew that I was pregnant. She was like kind of giving a half grin, trying to joke around. But I was also I was the leader in that setting. I was, for some reason, my Facebook hates me. So I might have to go again. Okay, so I was a leader in that setting, and that was really hard to navigate. So basically, I didn't say anything because, again, I'm at a work function. But it had happened again, and I was in a much better headspace. But these types of stories that I'm telling you on this podcast, that I can't even believe sometimes that I tell these stories on a big platform like this, but I think they're important. They just show, like, it's just such a lack of sensitivity to someone, especially a stranger that you don't know. And we more commonly see the "you're so fat" part, or "you're so big," or "oh my gosh, are you sure there's not twins in there? Are you super overdue?" All of these comments that I think are well-meaning. I can't imagine how sometimes people think that that is well-meaning. I had somebody say to me with this pregnancy, "Wow, you're like double the size." And was like saying it like they were stunned. And again, I was like, why are you commenting on my body? You would never want a stranger to come up to you and make a comment about your body. Good, bad, indifferent, does not matter. There is no societal norm, nor should there be, where you go up to a stranger that you do not know and you make a comment about their body. That is not okay. And it can be quite hurtful. And so if you have, say, for example, the person that you're calling so big has been struggling with gestational diabetes, and that's macrosomia, or the overweight, an oversized, not overweight, of a baby over 9.9 pounds, is a big risk factor. And so maybe she's really worried about this. And not only is she dealing with her body image issue, or having recovered from an eating disorder and was already really worried about getting pregnant in the first place, and now you are just feeding that neurotag that she is trying so hard to combat against. Why would you comment on a person's body? On the flip side, the other thing that people can say and be really well-meaning is, oh, look, you're so tiny. I was just at an OB appointment. It's funny that I'm being called overweight because my OB is more worried that I'm on the smaller side of normal for where I'm at during this pregnancy. And so again, if somebody calls me super small, and my OB is currently having conversations with me about being slightly on the small side and how that could be an issue, or that how that may trigger an induction, this person's life, or if you don't know them, you should probably refrain from commenting. And if you do know them and you are excited for them and you're talking about their pregnancy, the first filter that I would do is, how are you feeling about your pregnancy? That is going to be the first filter, because the reason why we want that to be the first filter is that that might give you some insight into how people are feeling. Because if they say, oh, I'm doing really well, but my doctor is worried that I'm too small, then that "you look so great, you look so tiny" comment, you're probably not going to give it. Or just say, you look great, not big, not small, not are you having twins, just you look wonderful. How are you feeling? Because those are the comments that mean so much. And parametrics are different. If I had a shorter torso, I would be way further out with my baby bump, because there's nowhere else for the baby to go, because I don't have a lot of space between the top of my pelvis and the bottom of my rib cage. That's just the normal variation of a person's body. And so all these things come into play. And so this is my disclaimer, or I hope that people are not taking, that pregnant people do not need to have these things happen to them, because not enjoying a wedding because you were bawling your eyes out because somebody made an unsolicited comment about your body is not okay. It's not okay. And she would have assumed that she knew me, but she didn't. She didn't know anything about my story, anything about my perceptions of pregnancy and how I was feeling from a body perspective. And so it's just not okay. And so we need to really make sure. And if you have to be aware that this may affect your therapeutic alliance, right? Like if you're saying you're so small and your client is super anxious about her size being too small, you may have the best of intentions, but again, that may be feeding into a loop, or them having an eating disorder, and you making a comment about them being, well, it should be any day now because you're looking ready to go. And it's just, you have to be careful and you have to be sensitive, and just turn it around and go through that filter of, how would you feel if somebody made a comment saying you're so fat, even if they were joking? I don't Okay, it was not in good taste. And it happens more often than you think it does. And so this is my kind of stake in the ground to open up these conversations with some of your pregnant clients potentially and ask how they're feeling about it. Because we just don't know. And we don't know. And we can ask about their thoughts around their perceptions, all these things, but we really just don't know how they're feeling because we're not in their bodies. And so opening up that conversation may actually help a lot to give them a space to speak openly about how they feel about their pregnant body, to be able to say, I hate this. I hate being this pregnant. I just want this baby to come out. I hate postpartum recovery. I'm almost 8.5 months pregnant. I'm exhausted. I don't want to be pregnant all the time. I wish that I had the freedom of movement in my body that I'm so used to as an athlete, but I don't right now. And those feelings are okay. And yeah, so just open up those conversations with your clients, allow them to have a free space to speak. With your family and friends who are pregnant, same thing. Yeah, that's my flag. I'm laying that in the ground. Please don't comment on a person's body, especially if you don't know them. If you know them and you know how you feel and you're trying to make them feel better, that is totally different. Of course, there's context to that. But just don't talk about a person's body, anybody's body. Don't talk to a stranger about their body. Just don't. And that's all I got for today. All right. If you are interested in jumping into our next 8-week online cohort, we start in September after this baby is born. And then maybe I'll be complaining about postpartum recovery. I don't know. We'll talk about it then. But I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful week. I'm actually on vacation the rest of this week, which is fantastic. Having some daddy, mommy, daughter time before we become a family of 4. So I hope you all had a very relaxing weekend, and we will talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.